How do you decide how much responsibility each sibling should have when you're trying to take care of your elderly parent? It can actually be one of the hardest parts of being a caregiver if you do have siblings. I have three of the best siblings in the world, and we still were struggling as we're trying to provide 24-hour care for mom. But getting clear on what each person feels in the situation is super important, because if I'm feeling like we should all be equally responsible, but somebody else doesn't feel that way, then it allows me to be able to figure out a plan to still be able to provide mom the help she needs without expecting that somebody else is going to do something. So last week we had a family meeting and we talked about three big things. The first question that we kind of went around the room answering is, how much do you feel personally responsible for? Do you feel like we're all equally responsible? And be careful, because we do all have our own beliefs about the way things should be, but that doesn't mean somebody else's belief is the same. And neither one is necessarily right or wrong. We think ours is right, but that doesn't mean it necessarily is. It's right for us. The second thing we talked about is the idea that if one of us has certain skills in a certain area, I'm a physical therapist. I have a sister who's a nurse's assistant. I have another sister who is a boss of her department at work. So there's skills that go into each of those areas, and to be able to kind of put the responsibilities that the person might be best suited for to them is a way to make things easier. Because if it's really easy for my sister to hire people and fire people and do interviews, then she probably should be the one to do that. And if somebody else is better at being really organized and managing medications, then somebody else should maybe do that. And the third really hard thing that we talked about, with mom included, is since mom doesn't have dementia, does she have the right to make decisions that we might not agree with that might lead to a fall? Does she have the right to fall? That's what we call it in the therapy world. So then if we decide that mom does have the right to make decisions that might put her at risk, then we all, including mom, have to really try not to feel guilt and not to feel regret, because we're making the best decision that we can right now. And when it comes to quality of life, that's a very important thing to take into consideration. And most likely, you're not all gonna agree on everything. So the bottom line is getting clear on some of the things that remain sometimes unclear between siblings who are trying to care for a parent can make things a little bit easier, and a lot of times can make less resentment between the siblings.